hope people don't get it mixed up. I do not now, nor have I ever in my whole incarnation have ever had a Harley Davidson. I just like people that have them, and I used to like to ride on them because of the vibrational frequency. Uh, it's like tapping on a large scale. So I got this hat. It's a souvenir from Fairbanks at the Harley shop in Fairbanks, Alaska. I went with some dudes when I went up there to do some scheduled maintenance. Anyway, my dad once told me that I should never get a motorcycle because people like me die on motorcycles. So it was really weird when my sister, that's 9 years younger than me, died on a motorcycle. So I learned from her lessons. I try to learn from other people's lessons. That's why I hope other people learn from the mistakes that I've made in my life. For those people that are like me that learn from other people's lessons, don't do the same stupid shit I do. Just do your own stupid shit. So my name's Marge. I'm a Hayoke empath. I'm a contrarian. I'm a jack of all tirades. I was thinking this morning, I was taking a shower and I was just like, I just wanted to have fun. All I ever wanted to do was have fun. I just wanted to play, but they always made me work. And then I'd screw around to make work fun, and then I'd get in trouble because I'd make people look silly for their imagined levels of importance. And so I get in trouble a lot because I clown around because I just wanted to have fun. My dad was such a douche. He's like this. He's a poster boy of like a freaking what a narcissistic male in society that has never had to deal with the consequences of his own actions. He's never had to face themselves. They do later in life. People always have to face themselves in one way or another. That's what life is about. Just being a life library and having experiences, and it's. We could just make it a good time and a comfortable place for everyone, and I see what the derange has drugged society into, what it's evolved to. It's it's weird what people do with their free will. So he's the stereotypical, he does what all the bros do, and you gotta be disciplined at some point in your life because that's what the universe is. If you gotta at some point learn some kind of discipline. You have to. So anyway, and I was thinking about how we had to spend 12 hours on a Greyhound bus on holidays so Mom could satisfy a judge's declaration. And then we oftentimes didn't have enough money to eat because she'd have to spend so much money, have to save so much of the little money we'd get from the state, from welfare, to put it away to buy and then I'd go down and see him, and he was such an asshole. And I'm talking like 8, 9 years old. I'm an Aries. He's an Aries. I'm an Aries. And I'm talking like 8, 9 years old. And he would have us, my grandma was a real estate agent. And when he was hard up for cash, he would go clean up the yards of these listings that grandma had. And oftentimes he would take us and be like, okay, and he'd wake up and he'd start out with we're going to go to the beach today. We're going to go to the beach. Oh yeah, we get to go to Avila Beach. We get to go to Pismo Beach. I get to body surf. I get to look for seashells. Yeah, we get to go to the beach. And then he'd say things like, but first we have to stop by this house and clean up the yard. And so he'd get us all excited. And then it wouldn't just be 45 minutes. No, it'd be 3 hours. He'd do it cleaning the garage. Never did see, what is that lake down by Bakersfield? Tehachapi Lake, never laid eyes on it because we never got to go because by the time we were done cleaning up the garage, little sister Jessica was down for a nap, and the day was over by the time she got up. So I was like, I was his child labor, basically. But one time on a 4th of July, we actually made it, got to Pismo Beach. It was late. It was like 4:30. We still had a good couple hours to frolic, to learn lessons of life on how if you don't dodge the wave just right, you're going to feel like you're in a washing machine and you're going to be on this spin cycle. That's how I learned about physics and currents and stuff like that. Almost drowning. And then one time my intuition spoke to me and said, there's money around here. I always had this sense about money. Like it was like I was a degaussing fork with water. And I'd be like, and it's 4th of July, like the whole beach is full of people. You can't hardly stick your arm out without hitting nobody and stuff. And so I'm looking around, and I'm like, holy heck, there's $20 right there just floating in the ocean, and I grab it. And I was like, man, I'm so lucky. I'm like thinking what I could do with $20. Like I could take Mom to go see the new Star Wars movie that just came out. Because we never got to do stuff because we didn't have no money. And I'd always imagine what we'd do if we had just a little bit extra cash. And I said, well, there's a little bit more. I kept looking around. Holy heck, there's freaking another $20. Wow, I felt like I was rich. I was like, maybe we're going to get popcorn at the movie. Those are the things that I would do, you know, because when you live from your heart, that's how people behave. So I never got caught up in video games and sports and all that stuff. I think that just takes people away from being humane. I don't think it brings people closer together. I think it makes people the lowest common denominator. I'm sure of it. So all these people are big on AI. When I went to college back in 2000, I was talking about college yesterday. Back in 2003, 2004, I went to college for IT, and I specifically, like, I thought long and hard, like, what do you want to do for a career? And I was like, well, what's something that you're going to need, and then people are going to need to be there physically to maintain? I was like, well, IT, okay. And then when I divvied it down to try to, you know, to decide what my main focus was going to be, that's why I specifically chose like the desktop support route, because you can't replace those people. You ain't gonna have a robot go up to people, you know, like there's some jobs that you just can't replace with robots or whatever. And so I made myself be one of those people. So I went to school for it, and I specifically, because we would have long conversations about AI and the future of AI and what the future of wartime was going to be and all this stuff. We just talked about this extensively for hours and hours in class. And I purposefully stayed away from AI because I didn't want to hang out with the freaking people that were in the industry. Because they just have ideas of how things are, and they ain't never gone hungry, and they ain't never lived on the street, and they ain't, you know, like they haven't had these experiences that would mold it themselves to make that a balanced thing, because it's a lazy man's tool. That's what AI is. AI is a lazy man's tool. AI is a toy. AI is a gadget that grown-ups give themselves permissions to play with. That's what AI is. It's like a leaf blower. AI is definitely a lazy man's tool. Like people will sit there and try and communicate with a toy to get it to create an outcome, whether it's, you know, grammatically, whether it's verbiage speaking, whether it's art. And I'm just like, I'm not gonna tell something and make something try to conceptualize any thought that I have. If I'm going to do that, I'm going to do it myself. I can do art by myself. I can draw my own stuff. I don't need to do. I got snapnacks. I got thousands of pictures that I can go out that God and me created together with our congruence of just sharing the present moment, and the shots that I get are sometimes the shit. I get the shit shots. You know, you gotta be careful because you don't want that last shot to be the best shot. You know what I mean? And people just don't have operational risk awareness management. They don't value life enough to think about the stuff that they're doing is dangerous. Because it's more fun to perpetuate the lie. And I understand a lot of people don't have skills. Like, I have a lot of abilities. I have a lot of skills that just regular old earthlings, they just don't have. Yeah, I get these across my FYP. They have these titles of like spiritual guru this and spiritual guru that, and I'm like, okay, let's see what the spiritual guru has to say. And I'll tune in and I'll listen, and then my mind always wanders. Does it every time? I can't help myself. It always goes to the place. I wonder if this spiritual guru has ever had to has ever like broke down on the side of the road and had to get themselves out of a bad situation. And if they did, what did they do to get themselves? Did they have to walk 5 miles? Did they have to know like what is the hardest, most challenging thing that this person has ever gone through? What is it? Because I got a laundry list that I can base my life experience on. So what are these people that are telling people what 3i Atlas is and what all these things? Like, I was talking about 3i Atlas, like it's just getting people to think outside themselves. Because people are so internally focused and internal, you know, their whole locus internal is just all about self gratification, and now it's turned to a place where it's preservation, you know. I'm not driving a lot right now. Our universe is like, no, you're going to stay in. You're going to stay in and chill. And so, it's a new moon, so I wanted to test something. Because it's time you set your new intentions. And we had a scheduled appointment, you know, for like the second week to have maintenance done on my apocalypse wagon. And I was like, let me try and call and see if we can't have that moved up a little bit. And lo and behold, we bumped up the whole dang appointment 9 days. I was like, woohoo! Yay! Because Mom and we like to go for rides. That's one thing we always done. It's like, we might not have had a whole lot of money, but we could just go for a drive, turn on some music, and just enjoy each other's company while looking at all the beautiful things that Creator made. And at least we could do is give things back to Creator. Because I swear that's all we're supposed to do on this planet Earth is like create, like every time we've gone through a hard situation in life, I would imagine like what would be the means to make things more comfortable so Mom wouldn't have to be stressed, and then I wouldn't be stressed because she's stressed. And then I would imagine a system that collectively made that up. Like, you know, I know there's a lot of people that have nice cushy lives and they think they've gone through trauma and things like that for some reason, but there's a lot of people that just really have not experienced trauma. And definitely have not experienced. I mean, I hear a lot of people in their 60s, they tell me stories and they're like, it was the worst thing we ever saw. And granted, I'm not taking away the fact that what they saw was a terrible thing. But how did you escape seeing something like that until you're in your 60s? Because I saw stuff like that when I was like 3 years old. That's why I always started to value life, is because I see what happens when you don't. And what happens to the soul sack when the soul leaves the body, you're just a pile of meat. And so I got to be careful. Because I always did stupid shit, and then I would drink, and then I'd do really stupid. I would freaking test the fates. All the time. Like, okay, whatever. If I'm going to live, I'm going to live. If not, let's not go out with a really great story. But there's other people that did way dumber shit than me, because I guess they didn't value life more than I did. Found my cup, I lost it. It was on the back of the car. So, it just gives other people things to do while they're doing nothing. There's so many people that live in houses and they've never built a house. They sit on toilets, they take big old freaking ginormous craps, they plug up plumbing, and they have no idea what it is to deal with this shit that they create because they want to over consume. Because people, dude, your heart is this big, your stomach is the size of 2 fists, and I look at like plates in restaurants, and people put so much real estate in a small little acreage, and then they wonder why they get cancer in their colons. And it's like because you overstuff, because you overconsume, because all we are is a computer. Our brain is like our processor. The way I look at it, heart is the CPU. You know, you got your memory, you got your cooling system, because you can't get too hot. That's what the water wars are all about. All these people are worried about water. Go back and watch my video. I got a whole playlist about water fights. In Salem, Oregon, 7 years ago, I was out without water 2.5 years. Nobody, I'd talk about like, okay, this is what the problem is. This is there's an issue, and here's what there's nobody on this planet that I could communicate with to convey and express the issue. Even my logical, rational brother, who's a lawyer, nobody wanted to help me. So me and Mom just didn't go without. We just went without water for 2.5 years. I'm like, other people are gonna run into these problems. Like, you couldn't collect water. Like, they charge you for the area of the property that you live or rent on. So if the rain falls, like, they come up with some burr brats come up with stupid rules, regulations, policies, and procedures that they don't follow up and by themselves. They're totally hypocritical. That's why I'm not sad the whole system is collapsing. They turn it, people pay themselves 6 figures and everything's turned over to the lazy man tool, which is AI. That's why nothing is going to work. Because there's no heart put into it. Like, that's why medicine works. Because people put their heart and their belief, like, hey, I want their intention. I want this to make you feel better. But there's a lot of people that make things not so people feel better, so people be dead. Like booze causes 7 kinds of cancer. It's the greatest, most poison toxin on the world. They like to make money off of it, because that's what lazy people do. They like to profit from doing nothing, and even if that nothing causes harm, so that other people can profit, i.e., medical industry, then everybody wins. All the gluttons get to glutton and go on their vacations, and and have their yachts and their box seats at this stadium and that stadium, and fly here and fly there. And meanwhile, there's people like me and trying to just make sure Mom's comfortable till she takes her last breath, because Lord knows there's no system in place that ever did anything to protect her as a little baby. That's why, and then after what happened to me, my personal experience when I was a little baby, like, I mean, I know my whole life that fucking perverts own America. Except I always get hushed for pointing out who they are. No, Margie, no, they're going to be terribly embarrassed. Good, I want people to be terribly embarrassed. Leave fucking kids alone. They just don't figure that out. Like, the administration, year after year after year, and kids, like, people don't even grow up until they're like in their 30s. So, like, young adults just freaking, like, I wish people would just focus on figuring out who the hell they are, instead of trying to figure out who the hell they are with hooking up with this Joe Bob blowhard. Because all Bobs are blowhards. I ain't never met a Bob that wasn't a blowhard. The biggest blowhard of all. Bobs. The only Bob I like is a fictitious character named Bob Burger. So I hope people figure out how to be more creative of and by themselves. And it's like everything else. I've been in IT. I've been, ever since I was a kid, I've been tracking trends and popular and what's popular. And they throw things out there like freaking bait. And then there's a group of people that will just go after it because it's the newest, it's the latest, it's the most popular thing, and they want to be the newest, the greatest, the most popular thing. It's stupid. It's very low vibey. And then if things flash in, it's like a searing pan. It flashes in, it flashes out. On to the next thing. On to the next story. On to the... Washington, D.C. and Hollywood are the same. Military intelligence is in fact an oxymoron. Just like national security. Police, soldiers, they're just little characters in a costume to get people to act like the script says. And then, as long as people go along with it, and tell them their things like, hey, you're democracial, you're democramental, your democracies are democramental, and you got freedoms, and you tell people shit like that, and they're like, ooh, where are the little fireworks at? The world is a freaking joke. It's such a contrived reality, and what people, as the sum of all parts, collectively agree on is just hilarity to me. So me and Mom just sit back and watch because it's so funny. So funny. So funny. People still are doing that Christmas Santa Claus bullshit still. They're still pretending like, the mass of freaking millions of my ancestors is something that should be celebrated as it's all trickery and debauchery and trickery. And I call bullshit. And I don't like colonial. I have half of my dad is the colonials and my mom is the native, so I have the ego and the spirit within me. And I live mostly from my spirit. I do get driven by my ego. I am a human. I'm a spiritual being having a human experience. I still am a human. I don't use it to freaking cause harm. And people are straight up pointing their fucking cars at people. And with the intent to, it's like, dude, snap your people, they can't control themselves. They let the demons run the show. And I exercise my demons. Figuratively, literally, I do whatever I can to keep my demons in check, because keep your hands to yourself, and that's all you gotta know, is like, you don't gotta really worry about your demons when you know things like, and you have disciplines in your life, and you practice these disciplines every day, and when you do them enough, then you can add up several years where you've been disciplined enough not to go against your own laurels and your own principles and your own... I'm not going to be a shit stain on the fabric of my own personal constitution, because there's too many people out there that are shit stains on the fabric of society. All just with their complacency, as far as I'm concerned. Bros thinking they're doing something to make the world a better place because they sit in their little studio with their little lights in their background. They talk about all the important stuff they give away. Like, it's so silly. It's so silly. There's like, that's your contribution. Wow. I mean, I used to watch like Johnny Carson and all that shit. I used to do, I used to want to be like on TV and stuff like that. It was like, okay, I can do that, but then I also want to know how to fix my car. Like, then I want to be able to know how to cook food. And then people that like get so hyper focused on one side, they like get psychotic, and they think they get like this inflated ego because they can do that one thing, that they're like some marvelous human being. And I just don't see it that way. I think the marvelous human beings are the people that have kept a smile on their face in a world that's just flung a whole bunch of shit at them. But only the people that have had the world really toss extra stuff at you, only they know what it's like. I mean, I listen to a lot of astrologers all day long because I'll be doing things and I'll listen to others people's perceptions on how they feel about things. I'm like, that's an interesting take. It occurred to me several years ago that all astrologers are doing is they are telling you their perception, their interpretation of the movie, of the storyline in the stars, based on their own personal perception. So, if you have someone with limited life experience, they're only looking at it from a small pocket. You get me? So they're only getting a little piece of the puzzle. Because they ain't never had to been broke down on the side of the road and had to get themselves out of a bad situation because they always had someone to bail them out. It's funny. But everybody gets the chance to experience life. You know, it's just a checklist. Hey, this ever happened to you? No? Yes? No? Yes? No? Okay. We're going to live life until it happens to you. And if it doesn't happen to you in this carnation, better be careful because it's going to happen to you in the next one. Or maybe it happened to you your last one. But did you learn the lessons of putting yourself in bad situations and places and in harm's way just for a good time? Or are you living for ego? Because bad things happen when people mostly live from ego. That's why I really intentionally do things to live more than 50.01% from my ego, from my spirit, and not from my ego. Because if I live from 50.1% from my ego and not my spirit, then that's when the demons and the devil win. So I even if like, so most of my life, I'll be laying there and I'll be like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to go do this thing. And as much as I say, the more I say to myself, I don't want to go do this thing, that tells me that is the thing that I need to be doing. That's how I conduct my life. I don't do stuff because I want to do it. I do stuff because I don't. And then I think, because that's how I get out of myself. That's how I don't live as, that's how I live a selfless, service before self attitude. Because there's always people that have it worse than me that I could help out, but people don't want to line up with me because I'm bad. I just throw away money and they don't want to do that because money's not a real thing. And they might say they're spiritual beings and money's not a real thing, but they're still playing the 3D game with, taking their grandkids to see Santa, and I think that stuff is stupid. Because that perpetuates the 3D Earth. When I'm trying to cultivate and create an environment where people don't got to worry about it freaking sitting on a creepy old man's lap. They want me to buy into their bullshit, and just because it's bullshit. But they want me to get excited about stupid stuff they do. And I'm more about feeding people that don't have food to eat and keeping people from freezing to death on the streets and stuff like that. With good practical shit that they can use. So I don't live on the same planet that everybody else does. I never have. Because their priorities have mostly been self-centered and mine have been externally focused on the collective and that everybody has what they need. So it's just how it is. That's about all I got for now. Thanks for hanging out. Hope you have a rad day.